Have you ever wanted to camp from your bed with two earbuds plugged into your head? It's the summer of 2020 and we've built a pixel pyre, so let's tell ghost stories around a digital fire. It's the Least Haunted Campfire Club. It's Least Haunted Campfire Club. So pull up a log made of pillows and towels and turn down the lights while we unhook our jowls. Make this full screen or else go in blind. Either way you'll see creatures in the flames or your mind.
This story is called Pockets. When he was 23 years old, he came to the realization that they really were out to get him. All of his fears and insecurities were true. It had been a niggling feeling in the back of his mind for some time, a general sense of dread and malaise that can only come from years of pent-up paranoia and suspicion. He first suspected it 8 years earlier when the cashier at the convenience store winked at him when they had given his change. He stayed up for 3 days straight wondering about that wink. Was it a wink? Maybe it was just the clerk reacting to the gleam of sunlight reflected off the bumper of a passing car. But who was in the car, and why were they following him? Eventually, he came to the conclusion that it had to have meant something, although as to what, he didn't quite know. He checked his front left pocket. That's how it went for the next several years. An elderly lady coughing out a secret-coded message on the city bus, the same black cat seen on consecutive occasions at the same spot while walking to and from work, the numerical patterns that could be discerned through careful analysis of phone numbers in the paper's classified ads. It all meant something, and with an ever-solidifying resolve, he was becoming increasingly aware that it involved himself. That was when he started to carry his special talismans. It stood to reason, that at least in his mind, that certain items could be used to ward off the ill intent of whoever it was that was interested in him. But not just any items would do. They had to represent the thing which he was trying to ward off. A small matchbox car in a rear pocket would protect against being followed by suspicious vehicles. He checked his back pocket. Once on his way home from his night shift at the corner gas station, a small white dog had darted out of an alleyway and bit him on the ankle. He kicked at the beast until it let go, and then kept kicking until it let go again. As he studied the remains with a fearful eye, he noticed the electric light fading from its eye. They were now using robotic life forms to monitor him. He couldn't figure out why. After that, he always kept a small pewter dog taken from a board game in his hip pocket. He checked his hip pocket. Then came the fateful day when he made the discovery that would change the course of his life forever. He had taken to wearing a large coat full of pockets in which to keep all of his talismans. The list of things to protect against had grown so large. There were the various animals, insects, and creatures that they used to monitor him, so he carried a veritable zoo of tiny figurines on his person. One pocket consisted of an assortment of Christmas tree lights to protect against the hypnotic blinking lights hidden all over the world, blinking out their sinister instructions to their agents. You could never have enough pockets. And so, he had taken to adding pockets to all of his clothing, pockets within pockets. He checked his front right pocket. And it was as he was putting on a new pair of pants that it happened. He had purchased the pants from a thrift store and had paid cash. They were naturally cargo pants, and as he was pulling them on and the fabric was sliding up his leg, he felt the bite. A sharp pain right in his thigh. He pushed the pants back down and examined his leg, where a small bead of red blood was forming on the skin. He examined the pair of pants carefully in the light. It was around one of the pockets, where he saw the silvery shine that turned out to be the pin. The bastards were indeed trying to get him, and they were planning on doing it through his clothes. He checked his back pocket again. How could he have been so foolish? Of course they would use his clothes against him. They must have learned about his pockets. It must have been his old boss that had sold him out. He had recently been fired from his job at the gas station. His boss had accused him of stealing candy bars in his pockets, and after demanding that he empty out his pockets to prove that he hadn't, his boss forbid him from wearing his coat. He refused. Now it seemed that his former employer had ratted him out, had told them about his talismans and his pockets, and now they had weaponized his only defense against him. He checked the pocket on his calf. He realized that his clothes would have to go. Also, he would have to find somewhere to hide. His home was no longer safe. If he wasn't safe in his own clothing, then not even his house was secure. He reasoned that he would have to move underground. It was the only way to protect against aerial surveillance, and it went without saying that the daylight hours would need to be strictly avoided for similar reasons. But what about his pockets? Without his clothes and his pockets, there would be nowhere to keep his talismans. And then it occurred to him. It was brilliant in its simplicity, and it ran something like this. They couldn't use his clothes against him if there were no clothes. But no clothes meant no pockets. Pockets equaled clothes. But he needed pockets for his talismans to keep him safe. When was a pocket not a pocket? And when were clothes not clothes? A pocket was not a pocket if it was also part of you. And clothes were not clothes if they were also a part of you. He checked his right breast pocket. The first pocket had been his front right pocket. It was painful and sloppy. He had reasoned that in order for the pockets to work, he would need to apply the same logic that he had used on his talismans. Therefore, each pocket would need to be from skin from that same part of the body. Likewise, nature of the pocket could be determined by the source and could offer some additional protection. He had harvested his former boss's leg at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday as they worked to cover the now clerkless night shift. To protect against treachery, you would need skin from a traitor. The other pockets were cleaner, and he had gotten used to the pain. You could never have enough pockets. He checked his left breast pocket.
So on the Hawaiian island of Molokai, there used to be a leper colony. It's still there technically, but the patients who are there have been cured, but body parts tend not to grow back. I had the opportunity to actually go there and work there for a summer. It was an archaeological excavation. And I don't believe in ghosts, but that doesn't matter. That peninsula off the island of Molokai that's cut off from the rest of the island by these 2,000-foot sea cliffs, it was a prison for 8,000 people. It was a medical prison. Of the 8,000 people that were sent there to die, there's only 2,000 graves on that peninsula. The other 6,000 bodies, well, scattered about on the ocean floor, and also at the end of the peninsula there are sand dunes. And we were given a warning to never go digging around in those sand dunes, because when there's a good storm that happens, skeletons start getting washed up, and as the sand dunes drift and move around, you actually you'll see skeletons, you'll see human bodies underneath all that sand. So our team, our archaeological team, we were staying in guest houses as guests of the Park Service. Those guest houses used to be what they were calling the retirement rooms or retirement homes. It was for older patients or patients who were dying. And our team was set up 2 people to a room. There was a woman who was a former patient. Very nice lady. To protect her identity, I'll call her Auntie Daisy. As Hawaiian tradition, anyone older than you is an auntie or an uncle. And Auntie Daisy was really nice, and her job, she would clean the rooms, the guest rooms. One day I got to talking with Auntie Daisy about her job and about ghosts. That's when she asked me, "Oh, by the way, what room are you staying in?" I said, "Oh, I'm in room 11. She goes, "Oh, good. That's a safe one." Well, what do you mean? She says, "When I clean the rooms in daylight, I play a radio." Well, why do you play a radio? Because I hear things otherwise. She said, "Do not go into any of the other rooms, even in daytime." So Auntie Daisy would basically have to play music so she wouldn't hear the voices in the other rooms. The island itself has a rat problem and a mongoose problem. Yep, there's mongooses all around the damn island. So you have to watch out, and especially for the rats, you have to watch out where you put things and where you keep your food and your belongings and whatnot. Well, one night, I could hear a rat in our bathroom. There was a high shelf next to the sink. I thought for sure inaccessible to a rat. But I could hear it in there. I could hear it knock over my bar of soap and it hit the floor. And then my safety razor made a metal clink as it hit the tile floor. Then I heard the tube of toothpaste also. Then I could hear what sounded like the rat knocking the bar of soap around on the bathroom floor. I think it was trying to eat the bar of soap. Not wanting to bother waking up in the middle of the night and contending with a rat cornered in my bathroom, I decided to just let it go and go to sleep. And if the rat wanted to try to eat my bar of soap, it's welcome to it. The next morning I woke up and then expecting to go clean up the damn mess in the bathroom. Nothing had happened in the bathroom. All of my belongings were on the shelf. What I heard the night before was very clear. It was a small room and the bathroom door was open. But then it begs the question, what did I hear then? Because nothing in the bathroom had been moved around. Then there was the time when most of the team decided to go topside, meaning that they went to the rest of the island of Molokai to go find a bar and go spend the weekend doing something fun. I stayed behind, as did a team member, a very petite woman named Amy. And it was me and Amy, and I had my room to myself and she had her room to herself. And also that the guest houses are on sort of the more unpopulated side of the peninsula, where there wasn't really anybody living around for blocks and blocks. Well, I remember one night, the windows were open because it's always hot, and there's always a breeze. And I had my room windows open as I was going to sleep, as I was drifting off. And adjacent to the room that I was staying in was the dining hall. Hardwood floors, large metal cafeteria tables, very heavy metal cafeteria chairs that make a very distinctive scraping sound across the floor anytime you move them around. So I remember that one night, with the windows open and the windows open to the dining hall right next door, I heard the chairs moving around. And I looked through the window and no lights were on and no one was in there. But for about 15-20 minutes, every minute or so, I would hear one of those chairs scraping across the floor. Now, I don't believe in ghosts, but I also didn't feel compelled to go inspect. Because my fear is, what happens if I go there and I do watch these chairs moving around on their own accord? What do I do then? And better yet, what am I going to go run to Amy? And what is she going to do? And what are we both going to do when we come to discover that the chairs in the dining hall have been moving around on their own accord? Now, everybody who lives there still, and all of the medical personnel and parks department personnel who work there, every one of them has a ghost story, a first-hand ghost story. Everybody has had experiences there. Because remember, 8,000 people were sent there to die over the past few hundred years. There's only 2,000 graves. That is, there I think are 5 or 6 cemeteries on that peninsula, and there are more bodies in the ground than living people above ground. So I'm not going to say I believe in ghosts, but I will say I had an experience in a place that I would say might be the most haunted place on the planet.
For any of you who are still awake, I've got an old favorite to round out the evening. It was many, many a year ago, in a kingdom by the sea, that a maiden there lived whom you may know by the name of Annabel Lee. And this maiden she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me. I was a child and she was a child in this kingdom by the sea, but we loved with a love that was more than love, I and my Annabel Lee, with a love that the winged seraphims of heaven coveted her and me. And this was the reason that, long ago in this kingdom by the sea, a wind blew out of a cloud, chilling my beautiful Annabel Lee, so that her high-born kinsman came and bore her away from me, to shut her up in a sepulchre in this kingdom by the sea. The angels, not half so happy in heaven, went envying her and me. Yes, that was the reason, as all men know in this kingdom by the sea, that the wind came out of the cloud by night, chilling and killing my Annabel Lee. For our love it was stronger by far than the love of those who are older than we, of many far wiser than we, and neither the angels in heaven above, nor the demons down under the sea, can ever dissever my soul from the soul of the beautiful Annabel Lee. For the moon never beams without bringing me dreams of the beautiful Annabel Lee, and the stars never rise but I feel the bright eyes of the beautiful Annabel Lee. And so all the night tide I lie down by the side of my darling, my life and my bride, in her sepulchre there by the sea, in her tomb by the sounding sea. Good night, everybody. It was the Least Haunted Campfire Club. The Least Haunted